Hello everyone, today I'm going to be changing the automatic transmission fluid on my Hyundai Sonata 2011. It's a 2T, or the 2-liter turbo engine. I'm not sure if it's the same procedure for all the transmissions, but basically I went into, I called up Hyundai. They told me $300 to change my transmission fluid. So I said, got to be a better and cheaper solution. Well, the better and cheaper solution is doing it myself. I'm going to be using the Max Life full synthetic, let's see, multi-vehicle ATF, and this stuff is what is rated for the Hyundai. Even says on the back, Hyundai spec. Let's see if I can bring that in for you. I'm getting a bit of a shadow there. Hold on. Okay, I don't know if you can read it, but this is what they spec for this car. This is $16, $16 bucks, $17 actually. I bought two just in case, and I may want to do it twice just to flush it out, as it doesn't drain all the liquid in the transmission first time you do it. So let's get at it. Here are all the tools and parts that I used to change the ATF oil on my Hyundai Sonata 2011 2.0T 2-liter turbo engine. Might be the same for the other, but I don't have it, so really can't say. I would suggest that you watch the whole video prior to starting the service so you can figure out how you're going to do it. You don't necessarily have to do it how I did it. Just make sure that the car is level when you're draining and filling the fluid. That's really what's important. Okay, so what do we got? We got oil pan. ATF oil, I'll put the specs for that in the description. Long funnel, nice to have. No, don't need to have it. You can get away with a smaller one. A measuring cup, again, nice to have. Don't need it. Phillips screwdriver, 24 millimeter socket. Phillips screwdriver, 24 millimeter socket, 22 millimeter socket. Both of these are half-inch. A half-inch torque wrench. A half-inch ratchet. I used a 3/8 extension with a half-inch converter on the end to take the fill plug out. A 3/8 inch ratchet and a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 10 millimeter socket. A level, a jack, and a set of ramps. I use the ramps to get underneath the front of the car, and the jack to jack the rear of the car up and get the car level for the fluid check. Okay, here's the Hyundai Sonata 2011 YF to 2014 transaxle service adjustment procedure, and basically I'm just putting this on video. I'm going to put the link in the description as well. I just wanted to go through it here so that you can see it and you can see the pictures, so on and so forth. So I'm going to slowly scroll through this so you can see. On mine, this is the plastic eyelet, as they call it, or eye bolt as they call it, and here it apparently looks like it's made out of metal, but regardless, it's very similar. This is the plastic drain hole or level hole, which we use. Oil level plug is called, and I'll keep going. And that's on the front of the transmission. Okay, and again it states horizontal state, right? In other words, the car has to be level. And all the procedures are here. The tightening torque, 32.6 foot-pounds. Okay, and it says here automatic transmission, the ATF every 60,000 miles for severe usage. Well, I would say look at what they call severe usage: driving in rough road, bumpy, gravel, snowy, unpaved roads, driving mountain roads, ascent, descent, repetition of short distance driving, more than 50% of operation in heavy traffic during hot weather. Well, in Texas, I would say that definitely is over this temperature for 50% of the traffic time. Police, taxi, commercial operation, and trailers. And then it goes into how to remove the oil. Then it says fill the oil about 5 liters. Well, I could only get 4 liters into mine. And you know, the rest of it is in the video. But I just wanted to show you this and put it into the video, and I will put this link here into the description. We're looking down into the engine compartment at this moment. This is the air intake channel, or you know, tunnel, if you want to say, if you want to take. But anyways, this is the air intake right here, and here's the battery. There you can see the fill hole, or what they call the eyelet for the transmission. Okay, you can get in there quite easily with a socket to get it out. As you can see, I can put a socket right on it, no problem. There's lots of room to work there too. But you're going to fill the transmission through that hole too. And getting a funnel down there, unless you use a hose or something, it's going to be a little tight. So I'm just going to take off the air intake here. It's only 2 bolts, 1, 2, and then it should just remove by pulling out in this direction. Okay, so use your 10mm socket on this bolt here and this bolt here, and then this will remove in this direction. Okay, bolts are off. These are got rubber grommets on them here with these shims in the center, so make sure you don't lose those. If they might fall out, you never know. But at this point, just lift and pull it out, and there you go. That's the air assembly, or the air intake assembly, off, and that gives you much better access to the transmission. So I'll put that away. Now let's look at what we got. This is a view looking down into the engine compartment now that the air intake cowling is taken off, and it just pulls off. It's very, very easy. I like that. But now you can see that you have full access to that bolt. That bolt right there, I'm put my finger on, or pointing to right here, that's the inlet hole for the transmission, and where you'll be filling up the transmission oil from or to. At this point, you can see that you have easy access to it with a socket. There's lots of room here to work with, so that should be no issue taking that off. Plus, no problem getting your funnel in there to put your transmission fluid in there. Now, if you don't have a funnel this long, a shorter one will do just as well, as long as it fits in there and as long as you can pour the transmission fluid in there, you'll be fine. So next step is to take off the bottom engine cowling or cover, and let's get at that. This bottom panel needs to be removed from the bottom of the engine. You can see that there's a bunch of 10mm bolts all the way around that need to come off. Every single one needs to come off. Some people say you have to take this front panel off. I don't believe so, because you can just pull down on it and get at the front screws. I'll show you that next. Okay, now we're looking at that panel from the rear of the car looking towards the front of the car, and this is the front bumper panel here. But as you can see, there's bolts underneath it. And that's pretty easy to just pull that down and put your socket in there and get those bolts out. So that shouldn't be an issue. After I'm done pulling the panel off, I'll show you all the positions for all the bolts. Pretty obvious when you're doing it, but just so you know where everything is. Okay, there's the bottom panel. There's the bottom panel removed. You'll see that there's 1, 2, 3 bolts on the driver's side. There's 2 screws, that's where the Phillips screwdriver came in, over here. And also note that all the bolts are different sizes, so make sure that you keep them well organized so you know which size goes where, back where. There's another one down here on the back passenger side of the panel, another one in the center, and 2 in the front that were under the front cowling, but they're easy to get at without taking that front cowling out. And as you can see, those are the longest ones. This one's almost as long, and this one's a little shorter. So again, make sure you keep your screws and bolts organized. I just put them back in the holes and put the panel away carefully. Then when I put it back together again, I know which bolts go where. Okay, just for everybody's reference. I'm going to zoom in on those bolts. This is the front of the cowling. Those are the only black bolts, and both go there, and they're the longer ones. We'll go down to this middle, and that's almost as long, not quite as long, but it's not black. And down here at the very end, we have a shorter silver bolt there. And I'm just doing this to make sure that everybody knows what size bolts go where. So next we have the screws that go into the back. There's the two holes and the two screws. They're Phillips. And then we have the three identical bolts on the driver's side of the panel. Next we're ready to begin the draining process of taking the fluid out of the transmission. Note that if your engine is hot, things in this area may be hot too. The fluid in the transmission will be hot as well. So be careful with hot fluids as you might, injure yourself. So again, don't burn yourself, and be careful with hot fluids. So let's go look at it. There's the fill plug. That's the first thing that needs to come off for the fluid to drain out. So we're going to take that off. And it comes off fairly easy. It's very light. It's a plastic plug, so put my extension on that, take that off all the way. Remember, it's made out of plastic, so when you're putting it back on, don't torque it on super tight. It's just a plug. There we go. There it is out of the transmission. I'd say looks pretty nice, pretty easy to put fluid back in there. It's a very wide spout. It's an O-ringed bolt, so that's great. So make sure your O-ring's good, and then put that away someplace clean. Okay, here's the transmission drain plug. I made an assumption that it was a 22 millimeter. It is not. It is a 24 millimeter. I happen to have one of those. I will, make sure that you get that at the start of this video as a notation. Okay, so 24 millimeter. Got the pan underneath. We're ready to take that off. We got the top bolt off, the fill plug. So here we go. Alright, so we're draining out here. Now, notice that this is a magnetic plug, and I can see there's all sorts of metal stuck to it. Well, that's a good thing. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to take the metal out of the solution. So make sure that you clean this plug right off and get all that extra metal off of there. This is actually making me very glad that I'm taking this fluid out and replacing it. Alright, I realize at this point that the car is on the ramps and it's not level. So I'm going to use a jack to lift up the rear of the car and level it. I will chock the wheels on the front as well to make sure the car doesn't roll. Because I want the transmission fluid to get out of all. I want to get as much transmission fluid out of the car as possible, and I want the car to be level when I'm filling it up again. So I'm going to jack the rear of the car up and put it on jack stands. Okay, so I did level out the car. I used just a simple level like this. It's magnetic. It's got a magnet on the bottom. I had it lying around from, believe it or not, a flat screen frame install, but I put this on the frame of the car, on the rocker panel, or on the box frame on the way in the middle of the car to show me whether the car was level or not. And when I did so, I did get more fluid out of the transmission. So I would recommend jacking up the rear of the car or leveling the car in some fashion or another. So let's put the plug back in now. Let me get rid of that little bit of oil that's left there. Nice and clean. Plug is nice and clean. All the magnetic particles are off of it. Okay, and this goes back on at a torque of, oh wait, hold on a second. Sorry, forgot to show you and mention to you that there is a washer on this, and it looks like an aluminum washer, and it looks fine to me, so I'm going to reuse it. If you want to replace it, well, order one from Hyundai and replace it. Anyways, the torque on this bolt is 32.6 foot-pounds. 32.6 foot-pounds. So I'm going to use my wrench on that right now. Set my torque wrench to 32.6. Alright, I got my 24 millimeter on there, and I'm just going to torque this to 32.6. Mine's a click type of torque wrench, so we're there, 32.6. So now we've got the plug back in. Now we need to put the fluid back into the transmission, and I'm glad I leveled it, but next I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now we have the fluid level plug, and that is this plastic plug right here. It's in a plastic housing as well, so it's okay. Now, all you need to do is turn this counterclockwise to remove it, so we're going to do that, and your socket should fit right in the center. So, and once you get it to that point, just turns by hand and pull it out. Careful with the dirt around it. You might want to clean carefully around that. Don't get any dirt in the hole. And basically what this is the fluid level check. So what happens here is when you fill it up with fluid, and when you get to the right level, it starts to pour out of here. So make sure your pan is underneath this when you're doing this. Next we go up top and start putting fluid into the transmission until it comes out here. So now we're ready to fill it, and you see the fill hole right there. So I'm putting my funnel straight into that, my long funnel. So it's nice and clean. And if you can see down here, that's the overflow opening or port. And when it starts filling out, draining out of there, you know you've got enough in there. Okay, so I'm going to measure it out and see how much I put in, and we'll go from there. Okay, this will be my first half liter going in. And what you're looking for is down there, the overflow. Make sure that that you look at it and make sure that when it starts to pour out of there that you stop putting it in. So that's half a liter in there. Okay, I got 4 liters in there, and it appears to be spilling out at this point. I'm going to follow the procedure for checking the fluid level and show you that on video as well. With the car flat on the ground, once I properly warm up the transmission and get the car off the ramp. Okay, next I'm going to put this oil plug in, the oil level plug back in on the side of the transmission. You'll see me doing it down there, going right in there, and it's just the reverse procedure of taking it out. Clean the excess oil off there, nice and neat. Don't want any stains on your driveway or your garage. Next I'm going to drop this car off the ramps, level it out, and then open this port again. actually going to read the instructions on what to do there. But. Alright, I'm going to back the car off the ramps. Before starting the car, make sure you take the rag that you put into the air intake hole out. You can actually start the engine and run it without the cowling in there anyway. But you know, make sure you take that off before you pull off, before you start the engine up. Okay? And they recommend Hyundai. I got the manual here, and I'm going to put this PDF on the video as well. They recommend that you warm the engine up and that you get the transmission oil temperature to 50 to 60 Celsius or 122 to 140 Fahrenheit. And it says with the GDS, I figure that is the device or the electronic sensor that shows you that. Then it says shift the lever slowly from park to drive, and then from drive to park, and repeat one more time at idle. Okay, and then it says remove the oil level plug. It says lift the vehicle and remove the oil level plug. So I guess, you know, remove the oil level plug, but we don't have to lift it to do that. You can do it on level ground. It says at this time the vehicle must be at the level state, so I'm going to do that. If the oil flows out from the overflow plug in a thin steady stream, the oil is correct level and is correct. Then finish the procedure and tighten the oil plug. Okay, so I'm going to also put my bolt back into the oil filler hole down here. So let's just do that right now. There we go. And again, you can use just your socket driver on that. I'm going to do that. I'm sure you can't see a thing there. Hold on. There it is. Right down there. So I'll put my wrench on it. There's sort of, unfortunately my camera angle is going to cover that. But basically it goes in there. This is where the extension comes in handy, and I'm going to use it. Yeah, it just slips out of there when it gets tight anyway. I'm going to use the 22 on it. And again, it's just not tight. There's the 22, fits on it perfect. That's good. It is a plastic plug. I suspect that I'll probably have to take that off again down there. There it is. Right there. But we'll see when I get the car level and I pull the drain plug, sorry, the level plug out, and see if it actually drains out. First I'm going to warm up the engine though. I follow the procedure given to me by Hyundai, which is warm up the engine, warm up the transmission, put it into drive, into park, and then into drive while the engine is idling, and then back into drive and into park, you know, a few times, you know, at idle, and good enough. Now I'm going to take the top plug off and the bottom drain plug down here. Car is now level on the ground. It's on my level, garage. So it's both wheels are on the ground at this point, and so we're going to check and see if the oil flows out. If it doesn't flow out, I'm going to add more. If it does flow out, I'm going to let it flow out till it stops. That'll mean that it's the correct level. So we're going to need your 22 millimeter socket and your 3/4 inch socket. So let's start with the fill plug here. I'm sorry if I'm in the way of the shot, but it's really the only way I can get this done. once you get it loose, it's pretty basic, pretty easy to pull off. And I'm doing this because I want the air to flow through it when I take the level plug off. Okay, so next, let's take the level plug off. Wonder if I can do it from up here. Now remember, my engine's hot at this point, yours will be too, so be careful. I'll do this from underneath. Yeah. Make sure your pan's underneath. And a small stream is coming out, which is good. I'm going to let that drip out for a little bit. And when it's done dripping out, I'm going to put the plug back in, put it back up on the ramps, and put the bottom cowling on and the air intake cowling back on as well. Okay, once again, I wanted to show you again. There you can actually get a feel for the color that's coming out of it. It's slightly brownish. It should be reddish, but there's brown in it. So basically it's dirty, even though I just replaced 4 liters of it. So you can imagine how dirty the original 4 liters were. And this is done at 60,000. Hyundai says that this never needs to be done if the car is not driven in adverse conditions. Well, if you look at what they describe as adverse conditions, most people are driving in adverse conditions, especially if you're living in Texas, because you're doing a lot of hot weather driving. So, like I said, look at that color. I'm going to drive around a week with this current oil in this transmission, just to get it all nice and basically uniform, and then I'm going to drain it again, and that should help to clean it up some more. Next, so at this point I'm just going to put the plugs back in, put the bottom cowling back on, and the air intake scoop or cowling back on as well, and then you're done. That's it for my video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a favor, click on the like button right down here. And you know, if you wish to subscribe to my channel, just click on this link up here. And that should subscribe you to the Richard Lloyd channel, or Richard Lloyd USA channel. Okay, again, thank you very much for your time and watching.